get words out without crying. My name is Luann. I'm an alcoholic. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Luann.
Last week during our speaker meeting, a gentleman shared with a beautiful Irish accent, and he said, sometimes the good Lord introduces you to people that change your life forever, or something to that effect. And that's what happened when I met Glenn 28 years ago at my first Big Book Comes Alive seminar. I was, Lisa, welcome, really, truly welcome. You belong here, and things can and will get better if you stay with us. Glenn met me, I was 3 years sober, and I was still a train wreck. Train wreck. Glenn, I don't even know if you knew that at the time, but all I can tell you is what Glenn did. And he's sitting down and you can't tell on the computer, but he's a good sized man. And he wrapped me up in this big, gigantic hug. And as a young woman, to get a hug that was nothing but love, what a gift. And that's what this program gives us. It gives us unconditional love at its best. And that's what Glenn represents to me. And to me, love isn't just about, oh, you're so sweet, you're so wonderful, blah, blah, blah. Because you know what? Sometimes that's dishonest, right? And what I know about Glenn is he's honest. One day, he's one of my go-to people. You know how you have go-to people when you get in trouble in your life? Like, I'm really in a mess. My head's all twisted up. I need the truth. So Glenn is one of my go-to people. And I called Glenn, and I happened to be in Florida at the time. And he said, where are you? I said, I'm on the beach on the west coast of Florida. He said, draw a circle in the sand. And I'm desperate enough that I actually listen. And he said, now stand in the circle. And I stand in the circle. He goes, the problem is in the circle, Luann, right? I'm like, oh, thanks, Glenn. Now, because he loves me, I can hear these things from him. And if I need to know anything about the Big Book, I can call Glenn. Glenn, no pressure or anything, but this man knows the Big Book. He knows our program. And because that, he has helped to save my life. I'm going to say one more thing, and then I'm going to shut up and pass it on to him. He's a gazillion years sober. I don't even know how long you're sober, Glenn. But this man to this day does exactly what this program teaches me. What a beautiful role model you remain. He still hosts these Zoom meeting things, I think 2 a day. I'm like, hello. Thank you. Thank you, Glenn, for your service. Thank you for your example. Thank you for saving my life. I love you. And I'll be quiet and listen to you.
Wow, that's some
Thanks,
build up.
Luann.
I don't know if I could live up to that. Okay, it's 8:15. You gave me 45 minutes. Does that mean no sharing? Amy, help me with this. You're muted too.
Thank
Yes,
you.
that's correct.
Yeah, if you
Okay.
could stop maybe about 5 minutes beforehand or so we can
Okay.
leave time
All
for
right,
any
good enough.
questions.
All right, my name is Glenn and I'm an alcoholic, and there's a lot of old friends here, and it's really nice to see some people that come to my meeting. Well, my meeting, it's the meeting that I host. And we've been doing that since COVID started. As soon as the face-to-face meeting stopped, I jumped on Zoom and we started the meeting, and I think we're up to 263 meetings now. So anyway, I'm going to tell you pretty much what happened to me. My mom died when I was 16, and she died just before my 16th birthday. And I was really pissed off that she deprived me of my birthday. I mean, that's selfish, self-seeking, self-serving. It's everything on page 62, right? That's me. And, you know, it's all about me. My mom died, and here it is, all about me. And then I got pissed off at my dad because he knew about it for a year. She had cancer, and the doctors told him, don't tell anybody and don't even tell her. So she was unaware that she was declining. Anyway, I moved out as soon as I could after that because I was just fed up with the whole thing. I have 2 other sisters, and I was the oldest. And when he remarried, less than a year later, that was the last straw for me. I was like, why, you know, who is this woman that's 40 years old or whatever? And she's going to tell us kids what to do. So I just moved out in the middle of the night. I took all my 45 RPM records. You guys have no idea what I'm talking about, I know. Some of the old people will understand what I'm talking about. And I took all my records and moved out in the middle of the night, like I slithered away. I thought I was being successful. Anyway, I rented a room. I fell in love with the doner shop girl, and that became wife number one. If you're going to keep score, there's going to be three. Okay, so wife number one and I lived together for, I guess, about 7 years. And I went to college, became an electronic engineer, and everything has to be exact. Everything has to be in its own little cubby hole with my brain. Okay, electronic engineer, it has to be exactly as it's supposed to be. There's formulas and it can't deviate from that. So this whole world, this spiritual world that we're in now is totally new to me. Anyway, I got married, like I said, and we got divorced shortly after, I guess, around the 7th year. And she took the dog, I kept the apartment. I thought it was a fair split. Selfish, self-centered, self-seeking to the max, you know. I got married again to wife number two. And this is when I had 2 kids with, a boy and a girl. And things were just not going good because I still wanted to party. I still wanted to just have fun all the time. I didn't want to be a dad. I didn't want to, I thought I did, but I didn't really want to take care of the kids, and especially when they were like 5 or 6 years old, and 4, I just moved out. So now I'm living in an apartment on the other end of Long Island, and it's a carpeted, unfurnished apartment. It has wall-to-wall carpeting. So here I am with my back against the wall and this vast open space in front of me. And that's how I felt inside. I felt totally empty inside. Later on, I heard Father Martin talk about that. He said that I had a God hole, only I didn't call it that at all. I had no clues. I was brought up Catholic, but I wanted nothing to do with Catholicism or any other religion. I was just into partying. It's all about me. And I was in a reactionary mode. You know, whatever happened to me, I would react. And that was how I handled my life. Divorced for the 2nd time. I got married to wife number 3. This is Jane, my present wife. And I'd like to say we lived happily ever after, not so much. It was when I hit my day of infamy, September 27th, 1987, a little over 33 years ago, is when my day of infamy. And what happened was I got pissed off at the boss. We were talking about something. He wanted me to do something I thought was crazy. And as I'm driving home, my car would always veer left as I passed by this Barefoot Peddler. It's a bar, restaurant place. And it would always have front end problems, and I would always end up in the parking lot. But today I was really annoyed, and I ended up in that parking lot again. And a buddy of mine was with me from work, and we started doing shots and beers. I knew that that's like the express train. The way I drank, I like to drink to oblivion. I like to drink to blackout. That was successful drinking to me. Only later I found out that it's a malady of this disease that I had no clue, but that was pretty close to the end of my drinking. Anyway, I'm in a blackout now, and we go to, I lived on Long Island. We were going into Queens to get some wine labels. See, I didn't tell you yet, but I'm a winemaker. And my credo has always been, if a little bit is the right amount and more is better, too much has got to be perfect, right? I don't know if anybody can identify with that, but that was how I lived, okay? I think I should belong to moraholics, because, you know, if you give me a dish of ice cream, I want a half gallon. If you tell me to drive 20, I want to drive 50. More of everything. Bring it on. So we went to, oh, I was making wine. Now, you guys don't know it, but it takes two 42-pound boxes of grapes to make a 5-gallon carboy. The carboy is the glass jug that sits on the water cooler, the glug glug thing, right? So it takes, which is about 5 gallons. It takes two 42-pound boxes of grapes. To give you an idea what was going on, like I said, if a little bit is the right amount and more is better, too much has got to be perfect, right? The last year of my drinking, I had 3/4 tons of grapes delivered to my home. And that's enough to make like 950 bottles of wine. If there's anybody here from the IRS, I gave it away and drank it. I never sold any of it, you know. No. But how that started was we went picking blueberries in Pennsylvania with my wife's parents, my in-laws. And you have a bucket that's tied around your neck, and you pick them and you eat them, and you pick them and eat them. And we had maybe 50 pounds of blueberries by the end of the day. And we got a little recipe book, and it showed how to make blueberry tarts and blueberry muffins and blueberry pies. And the back of the book, it said how to make blueberry wine. So we made these pies and the muffins and the tarts, and we made some blueberry wine. It was really fun. And the balloon on the top and expands, and it was just a lot of fun. The next year we picked 50 pounds of blueberries again, but we didn't make any muffins. We didn't make any pies. We didn't make any tarts. We just made the wine. And like I said, if a little bit is the right amount, more is better. Too much has got to be perfect. I mean, we started making more and more and more. So 1987, my last year of drinking, I made 3/4 tons of grapes. It was crazy. So needless to say, I was drinking more than I should have. And this day of infamy, when I went into Queens to get the labels, I had personalized labels. Karashkat's my last name, but I would have Karashkat Winery, you know, like we're a big winery someplace in France or something. But anyway, and I would have that on the labels. When I came home, I'm really drunk. I'm in a blackout now. And there are some dry goods involved, and I'm not going to talk about dry goods because I know where I am and I respect the house that I'm in. They only made me drink wine or drink faster, but they were involved as well. Anyway, I'm on my way home, and remember, this whole day started because I was pissed off at my boss. I come home around 10, 11 o'clock. It wasn't that late. And there was my dinner, as usual, on the dining room table, cold, sitting right where she put it. It's not the first time. And I went upstairs, and this is as the story was told to me. This is not as I remember it, because I don't remember. I was in a blackout. She said, I jumped on top of her and put my knees on her shoulders, and with my clenched fist, I started beating her. Now, I've never hit a woman in my life. I can't ever imagine doing this. I woke up in the spare bedroom. I never wake up in the spare bedroom. I woke up at 9 o'clock. I'm always on time for work at 8 o'clock. Something was different. I come downstairs and my wife's not there. She's at her job. And actually, we used to work together, but at this point, she was working someplace else. And I called her up and I said, what's going on? Where are you? What happened? She goes, you don't remember? I said, no. She says, well, you better wear your best suit tomorrow because you have to be in court. She took out a restraining order. Now, the restraining order got me a little nervous because I've visited the court system before. You know, on long weekends when I decided to get loaded on Thursday. I always used to start drinking on Thursday because that's like the beginning of a long weekend. You know, Thanksgiving was like a real bonus. You could start on Wednesday and finish up on Sunday. I mean, that was like anyway, I knew what jail was. I'd been there before in a couple of DWIs, and I didn't want to have Bubba for a lover, so I wasn't too interested in going back to jail. So I showed up in court, and she took out a restraining order for 6 months. The restraining order had 3 stipulations that she added into it. And the first one was, I can't come home drunk. Okay. My keen intellectual mind, I'm thinking, I'll just have 1 or 2 beers. I don't know if you guys have ever tried the 1 or 2 beer trick. Well, anyway, I since learned from Joe and Charlie about the disease concept and the acetaldehyde diacetic acid and the acetone that builds up after the first drink. Thank you, Joe. I can't drink like that, but I didn't know it. And so the second stipulation of this restraining order was that I can't drink in the home. My keen intellectual mind saying, well, I'll just drink in the backyard. That's easy enough. And the third stipulation was the one that got me. She said I had to get counseling at the local alcohol counseling center in Glen Cove, where I used to live. Now that's the one that I knew that they knew, and the jig was up. You see, I've been to psychiatrists before. Psychologists, psychiatrists pay them $100 an hour and lie to them, right? Do you drink? Oh, occasionally on holidays and weekends, you know. Do you do drugs? Oh God, no, never, you know. And I'm lying to them and paying them $100 an hour, right? But this alcohol counseling center, I knew that they knew. So I go there and I'm sitting there like this, you know. I don't want to listen to anything she says, my therapist. And she tells me that I have to go to the Glen Head group. And the Glen Head group has a beginners meeting on Tuesday nights, and it meets at 6:45. It's okay, fine. She said, I'll see you next week. You tell me about it. All right. I show up next week. I said, you know, I couldn't find the place. I don't know. Maybe you didn't give me good directions. Maybe you got. So she wrote down explicit directions, drew me a little map. I come in the next week. I said, I think the door was locked at 8 o'clock. They locked the door. I don't know why, but you know, I couldn't get in. She said, all right, if you miss this next time, you're going to be in violation. If you're in violation of your restraining order, you're going to get 6 months in jail. She got my attention. So I started to show up at this Glen Head meeting. The Glen Head meeting is like downstairs in a church. It's not a church, but it's like that. And it has low ceilings. And the smoke is from about knee high up to the top of the ceiling. And you have to walk like this to see anybody in the room, you know. And there's nothing but 80-year-olds sitting around the outside. And I went, oh my God, this looks like God's waiting room. I'm in trouble here now. What am I going to do? So I just sat there and I listened. And I saw the smiling faces and the dancing eyes. And I said, you know, these guys have something that I want. Maybe it'll work for me, just maybe. And I am really grateful for you guys showing me that. First, one guy came up to me at the end of the meeting, gave me a big book. He said, here, kid, read this, page 58. I don't do that anymore. I don't read from page 58, but that's what he told me, how it works. And then I just started to, you know, if a little bit is the right amount and more is better, too much has got to be perfect. I started going to meetings, more and more and more in meetings. I heard this 90 and 90 thing. I thought that was 90 cups of coffee in 90 minutes. I swear that these people were trying to drink all the coffee in the world they could. But that was not it. It's 90 meetings, as you know. And I really started enjoying this meeting. I really started to have fun with it. And it was starting to make me feel great. I'm coming up on 90 meetings, not 90 days, not 90 meetings, but I'm coming up on 90 days. And North Shore of Long Island, there was a blizzard similar to the one they just had, but it was deep. And I said, oh my God, my 90th day, what am I going to do? And I told my wife, she said, what are you talking about? It's not the 90th day. Don't you remember that you had a half a glass of wine in the backyard with Giuseppe? There's Giuseppe and me and my last drink, half a glass of wine in the backyard. pretty funny. I don't know how many people have a picture of their last drink, but that was 13 days or so after September 27th. So October 9th is my real day. After that stupid half drink. So I had to reset. Okay. And when I reset, that's when the miracles started to happen. You know, and I'm here to talk about miracles, IBMs, itty bitty miracles. I'm here to talk about these IBMs because it's so cool when you latch into these things. I started to get involved with service, and I went to, unbeknownst to me, I was getting involved with service. I was starting to feel grateful for my group, and I wanted to buy a case of big books. I said, I want to buy the hardcover book, you know, not the soft cover book. I want to buy the hardcover. They were the same price at the time. It's, I don't know what price they are now, but it was $5 at the time. And I go to this old guy, old Fred, throw your hat, Fred. Every time he wants to make a point, he'd throw his hat across the room. Anyway, throw your hat, Fred said, well, you know, instead of you buying a case of big books, why don't you become the book chairperson? I said, oh, okay, well, what's that? He says, well, that's where the group gives you some money, you buy some books, and then you put them on the table over there against the wall, and people buy the books from you, and you put the money in the basket, and then when you replenish the books, you ask the money, some more money from the treasurer, that kind of thing. I said, oh, I can do that, that's fine. Now I'm in service. See, I don't even know it. You got to be watchful of these old timers. They're really tricky, because 2 or 3 weeks before this, that damn old timer had gotten that commitment. He went, here you go, kid. Let me give it to you. Smart ass. Anyway, if a little bit is the right amount and more is better, too much has got to be perfect. I bought every pamphlet, every book that GSO had. I bought every pamphlet that Hazelden had. How to do your first step, your second step, fourth step, whatever. I had the whole thing laid out there. They had a special meeting, group conscience, because they were on 2 long tables. And they said, well, this is really not group, general service approved, this Hazelden stuff. You know, I had the One Day at a Time and all those daily meditation books. And over here we had GSO stuff. So to this day, and I'm so very proud of this, it's because of me, thank you. There are 2 tables and they're separated by about 2 inches, and it says AA material and AA related material. Thank you. Thank you very much. I became treasurer of that group. Then I became GSR, and then DCM at large for Nassau County, which is 200 or some odd groups. And I really enjoyed being of service. I really enjoyed it. I started working with other people. I started copying people's cassettes. It was cassettes back then. You guys don't know what cassettes are. 45 RPMs, I know. But it's a little thing that you take a pencil and you wind it up. Anyway, cassettes. I started copying their speaker tapes. And I had a whole rack of 100 speaker tapes on the wall in the living room. And I would use this deck that I had where you could do it in real time. So a 90-minute tape would take 90 minutes. They would auto reverse, and it would take 90 minutes to record this, and I would have these tapes. So I thought like I had arrived, as Bill says, right? And I went to this local store. It's like a head shop, but it's really a recovery store, right? This is when they first started. And I said to them, look, here's a list of all the tapes that I have. Would you like to sell them in your store? I'll give them to you at a certain price. You can double that price and blah, blah, blah. And she goes down the list. She goes like this, check, 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 check. My eyes are starting to go bigger and bigger and bigger. She checked off like 30 of them. I went, whoa, I got 30 tapes. This is great. And she said, I'll take 3 of each. I went, oh my God. So that was the beginning of my career. So I go to my wife who's waiting out in the car. And I said, let me borrow your American Express card. My credit is shot to crap at this point. And she said, what for? You're not borrowing my card for anything. I said, well, listen, here's the deal. This store wants to borrow these, wants to buy these tapes. I want to use your card. I want to buy a high-speed machine that'll do a 90-minute tape in 3 minutes. And it makes 3 at a time. And that way I could fulfill this order, and I'll get you your money back as soon as she pays me. She goes, you better do that. So anyway, I paid for my first machine like that. Next thing you know, if a little bit is the right amount, more is better. Too much has got to be perfect. I'm buying all kinds of machines and recording equipment, and now I'm recording conferences all over the country. We're flying to Hawaii 3 times a year. It was just, see, God was doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. I wanted to be of service. I didn't know how to be of service. I was doing the GSR DCM thing. That's kind of cool. But I really loved making tapes, and then CDs later on, and then MP3s at the end. But I really loved doing that. And somebody would come up and they'd say, oh, you know, there's a guy who's a doctor, and he had some problems. I said, oh, you're talking about Burns B. You know, I have his talk. It's right here. And I had like an encyclopedia up in my brain of all these people's talks. I love doing that. I just love doing it. I love people coming up to our table, and we would, my wife was, she was the salesperson. Like, I end up giving away everything. I wouldn't be a salesperson, a good salesperson at all. But my wife would say to a certain person who spent a lot of money there, she would say, you know, you spend too much money, you're cut off for the rest of the conference. The guy would get pissed off. What do you mean? No, you bought enough. You listen to those, you come back next year, we'll give you some more. And that's the way we felt about it. You know, we really wanted people to have these things, but they had to cover our expenses, that's all. Since Phyllis is here, I'm going to talk about a little story that's so near and dear to my heart. I love Joe and Charlie. I love them, love them, love them. I've been to over 55 Joe and Charlie Big Book studies, and another 10 or 15 other guys. And one time I had to record them in, I think it was Destin, Florida. And I talked to the chairperson and I said, okay, now what are you going to do Saturday night? Because these guys, they're talking all day. They go to dinner and then they go back to the hotel. They don't want to stay up anymore. And he says, well, I hadn't thought about it. I said, well, do you have a Saturday night speaker? And he goes, no, well, since you're coming, why don't you be the speaker? I said, okay, fine. So I asked my wife to record, and she was in the back of the room recording. And I get started. I get up to the podium and I get started. And as soon as I get started, in walks Joe and Charlie. And I'm like, oh, no. Now here are the gurus, and they're sitting in the audience, you know, oh, crap. But anyway, somehow God took over, and I forgot that they were there. And in the middle of my talk, I says, yeah, you know, as my good friend Joe always says, is it Oz or is it God? And I went about my talk. The next day, Sunday, I'm recording Joe and Charlie, and I'm usually close to the front. And Joe gets up to the podium and he's talking, and he says, yeah, you know, as my good friend Glenn always says, is it odd or is it God? And I'm like, he is perfect. I mean, he is just perfect, you know. Another Joe story. I recorded them in Hawaii on the Big Island, and everybody went, we were staying at Marion and Stan's. It's a couple who hosted both Joe and Charlie and my wife, Jane, and I, in this huge house that they have, gorgeous. And everybody went to sleep, and Joe and I are in the hot tub together, looking at the stars. All the lights are off. It's really beautiful. I said, wow, Joe, so what's new in your life? What's going on? He goes, well, my attorney right now is negotiating with the company I work for to find out if I'm going to own the company I'm working for. And I'm like, oh my God, you know. And he's so calm, cool, and collected. I want to be like him when I grow up. Thank you, Phyllis, for being here. I wanted you to hear that. I told you that story before, I know, but it was on message and anyway. So I work with a lot of people. I love working with other people. I love watching the magic happen, the light go on behind their eyes. I love seeing that. That is what the payoff is about this program. I thought it was about me staying sober. No, it's about me watching other people get sober. That is the big payoff. Nothing will ensure immunity from drinking than intensive work with another alcoholic. It works when all other activities fail. I have them read this thing. It's called the Roadmap. It starts out on page 86. It talks about on awakening. Page 25, the great fact is that he can do for us what we can't do for ourselves. And it goes through about 5 or 6 pages. And I say to people, read this every morning. 3rd step prayers in there, 7th step prayer. You skip right over to page 77. Our real purpose is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and others about us. That's the real purpose. That's my purpose on this earth. It wasn't to make CDs. It wasn't to build. When I was working as an engineer, I was making weapon systems for F-18s. I mean, how far away from where I am today, you know? So when they read this and they read it for 2 weeks, they feel the nearness of their creator like they never felt before. And they go, oh, I get it. I get what this program is about. That's the magic of this program. Watching somebody else get it. I tell you what, the greatest joy is not so much when they get it, but when they are telling somebody else, let's say the roadmap, and they're telling them how to do it. And I can see it from a distance. And they don't know that I'm watching them. And this other person gets it. Then I know that it's growing like this. It's not mine. I didn't own it. I went to a convention one time and a guy said this, it was an 11-step panel. And he said, this is what he does for his 11th step. So when I got home, I rewound the tape and I played it real slow. I wrote down all the page numbers and everything. And that's where it came from. I don't know who the guy is. I never saw him again. But now I know that it's spread all over the country. And that is just the greatest thrill for me. You know, I could go to someplace and that's totally foreign for me. And somebody will mention in the meeting, oh yeah, I got this roadmap from somebody and I'm reading this. I'm like, oh man, it is just so cool. It is just so cool. That's why I'm on this earth. Our real purpose is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and others about us. That's my purpose. Isn't it cool that we have a purpose now? Huh. My purpose was to get drunk and fall down, right? That was my purpose before. What a contrast. So when COVID hit, like I said, I started this meeting, the Lunch Bunch group, and we meet Monday through Friday at 12 noon. There's a couple of people on here that come to that meeting. I see Ellen from Florida. She comes on the weekends. And there's Karen waving to me. Yeah. And it's fun. Saturday and Sunday, we meet at 8:30. It's called the Breakfast Bunch group. And there's not that many people from my local home group here that come to that. It's all people from out there that come to that group. It's fine. I send money to GSO once a month out of my pocket. I mean, it's what I would throw in the basket, and I say it's from the group. I don't know what my face-to-face group is doing. They say they're meeting out in the back of a community building because it's closed for COVID. But they meet in a pavilion out in the back. It's getting pretty cold now. I don't know if they're still meeting or not, but you know, I don't go. But I love being of service. I think service is the key to the whole deal. And all throughout life, I'm going to end with this. All throughout life, I was running my show. And I got fired from my job about 3 weeks before my 10th anniversary with this company. And I was really pissed off. And I went to the noon meeting, And I'm there, I'm like, they fired me from my job. I'm really pissed off. I know I'll get another job. I'll be all right. Well, that was during this giant layoff of all the military contracts. And there was like 50,000 electronic engineers on Long Island that got laid off at the same time. So there's no way I'm going to do anything in my field. And that's when I started my own business. Now, is it odd or is it God? Thank you, Joe. Then things happened to me. We're recording a convention in Seattle. I'm pointing to Seattle. We did a convention in Seattle. 3 weeks later, we had another convention in Houston. And I said, you know what, instead of flying all our stuff out and flying us out and then back and blah, blah, why don't we take a road trip? We'll do it for a month. We stopped at Yellowstone and we went to Seattle, did the job there. Oh, we stopped and saw Luann. It was fun. We stayed a couple of days, I think it was, at your place in Big Sky. And that was really a bonus that I didn't expect. It was just perfect. So anyway, we left Seattle. So you're part of that story, Luann. I mean, you know, so we left Seattle and we saw my sisters in Denver. Then we saw a couple of other friends in New Mexico and went to Houston, did that job. Then we went to New Orleans. Now, my wife has never been to New Orleans. We get there on Labor Day weekend and it's the gay Mardi Gras. Little did I know it was the gay Mardi Gras, and there's parades going down the street. And the guys with bare chests are throwing beads to me. The gals are throwing beads to my wife. We had a great time. And we're coming back on Interstate 81, which comes right through Tennessee, and the air conditioner broke. And I pull off onto this windy road into the small town of Greenville. And I asked them, I go into an auto parts store and I said, who buys a lot of material from you? Because I want somebody who fixes cars, does a lot of business. He says, well, what kind of a car do you have? I said, well, it was a Honda. It was a minivan. And he said, well, the guy in the end of the town, he fixes nothing but Toyota and minivan. And Hondas. I went, okay. So we go to him and he's such a sweetheart. What a nice guy. And he says, you're going to have to stay for a couple of hours and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I said, you know what, we'll stay overnight. We go to the hotel. I'm looking in the real estate book and I'm seeing a 5-bedroom home on 5 acres of property with a pond, wraparound porch for $150,000 and the taxes are $500. Now, on Long Island, I was paying $15,000 in taxes. I said, we're moving. That's it. You know, is it odd or is it God? I don't know. You know, I said, we're moving. All right. So we looked through a couple more pages in that book, and all the homes are like that. I'm recording another conference up in Maine, and I'm talking to the speaker, and I said, well, she said she's going on vacation. I said, well, where are you going? She said, well, I'm going to Greenville, South Carolina. Now I heard Greenville, of course. So, okay. Is it odd or is it God? I don't know. We're doing another job in Pennsylvania, and I decided to come down to Tennessee to look around some more and then go back to Pennsylvania rather than go home and come back. So we stop at another place, and we used to ride a Harley, and I see a Harley dealer up on the hill. I said, how do you get to that Harley dealer? She said, well, you go down this road, that road, make a left on Greenville Road. I said, what? And my wife says, you know, you better write it down. This is what you tell guys you work with. You tell them if they're having trouble with God, you write the odd God book. Is it odd or is it God? You don't have to make the decision. You just write it down. And when the evidence becomes overwhelming, you realize that there's God in your life. So I wrote it down. Sure enough, we come down here. We found this property we love. We said, okay, we're going to stay here now. All we got to do is sell our home in New York. We tell our this real estate agent we want to sell our home. She says, well, don't do anything to the home. Just paint the front door red. Okay, we sold the house within 1 week. I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking, well, okay, now I'm going to run my business from Tennessee. Okay, no big deal. And I said, wait a minute, maybe this other guy wants to buy my business. So I called him up and he said, well, sure, I'd love to buy your business. Matter of fact, my partner just bought me out and gave me $40,000 and I'm sitting on it not knowing what to do. And I want to start a business. I said, let's talk. So we worked out a deal, a 5-year plan, and he paid me over the next 5 years, and now the business is his. So I sold my house and my business in less than a week. When things are meant to be, they just come together. All I have to do is just get out of the way. Just get out of the way. God has a great plan. My biggest problem is when I get in the way. When I'm totally powerless, that's when transformations happen. When I totally surrender, I said, okay, I give up. That's when things really start to happen. So I'm really grateful for you folks for teaching me that, because I would try to force my will, even today, in recovery. I would try to force my will. If I didn't have these IBMs, itty bitty miracles, if I didn't have these things that just shows me that God is running the show, not me. So with 8 minutes left, I'm going to stop. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Glenn. Great.
Thanks,
Glenn.
Glenn.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you.
Just wonderful.
Thanks, Glenn. Great job.
Thanks,
Any-
Glenn. That was awesome.
I left time for sharing. So do we do some sharing now? A couple of minutes?
Yep, if anybody have a burning desire, anybody want to share?
Hi, I'm Nikki. I'm an alcoholic.
Nikki.
I wanted to thank Glenn. My sponsor might not want to like pipe up because this is her first time on here, but she messaged me and she's like, "Oh my gosh!" She's like, "I was at a conference and I bought the Joe and Charlie CDs from this." So I just thought that was really cool, and thank you so much for sharing your strength and experience and hope. It was awesome.
Good, Nikki. Max, he's got a hand up.
I'm Max, I'm an alcoholic, and I talk to you every day, Glenn. I'm gonna let Karen talk.
Hi, Glenn. I just want to hug you. Throughout the whole thing, I just kept going, I want to hug that man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thanks, Glenn.
amen.
Phyllis alcoholic. Thank you so much, Glenn. Lots of memories. Thank you.
You bet. Love you, Phyllis.
Hi, Glenn. I'm Tyrone. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic addict. Would you happen to have your ID and code for that meeting that you say you do? I'd be interested in that. I don't do email, so that's why I'm asking. Could you put it on the chat or something?
I will.
Appreciate it. And also, your name precedes you. I go to a meeting, a guy named Rick F, and he used to, Charlie was his sponsor, and he talked about you. So he said,
Oh, wow, see?
so you're in the right place. I'm at the right place tonight. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Tyrone.
Alcoholic Ellen. I just want to say, Glenn, you were really fantastic as usual. I have a lot of fun memories from the Joe and Charlie's down in Fort Lauderdale, and then eventually Boca, and just really great experiences there. And I love your weekend meetings. So anyway, thanks again.
Go ahead, Dawn Marie.
Hey, Glenn, thank you so much. I was looking forward to this. You talked about you had a picture of your last drink. I have a picture of 10 minutes after my last drink.
Ah,
It's a car accident.
yeah.
I keep it in my book and I look at it every day. Thank you.
Hi, Glenn. My name's Howard. I'm an alcoholic. What was it? I think it was Dr. Bob, like on his last talk or something. He said something like, "Let's not louse this thing up. Keep it simple."
Yeah.
Oh,
You really did that tonight. I've circled it 3 times. Just get out of the way.
Yeah.
Just get out of the way.
yeah.
Simple as it gets, and that works. Thanks again. Great job.
Thanks, Howard.
I think Ellen from South Florida was going to speak, maybe.
She did.
Oh, I already did.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It's okay.
Sandra, you unmuted yourself. Did you want to speak?
Yeah. Thanks, Glenn. Giving me the direction, the good orderly direction. You brought up some stories, and our home group isn't meeting. It's a very small group in Adams Friendship near Wisconsin Dells, Wisconsin. And you were talking about, when the cassettes, and you wouldn't know a 45 and all that. Well, I guess I'm old because I do know that. But I also got a little pretty choked up because, from gratitude mostly. And the other is there's so many of my people in AA that have passed away. And as someone said, so you better know the guidelines and the principles and the steps and to pass that on. And I never forgot that. And so it's always my pleasure to do that and to do just the small things, make a difference in a person's life. So, you just bring me to tears. Thank you. I wish I could hug you too. I'm a hugger and I miss hugging people too. Oh, I hate it. I miss hugging people. So God bless you and Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Sandra.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Sandra.
Sandra. Glenn, it's our custom to close the meeting with a prayer of the speaker's choice. Do you have a prayer for us this evening?
Sure.
I just wanted to speak up real quick. Gabriel, recovered addict and alcoholic. Thank you so much for sharing your love of recordings, because as you could tell, I have a lot of records, and as a 40-year-old now, definitely no 45s and cassettes. But thank you for sharing those live experiences of recordings and making a new experience for those and holding on, and what how grateful I am of that part of your story. So thanks.
Thanks, Gabriel.
Thanks, Gabriel.
Nice.
All right. So why don't we have everybody on mute? Since I have control, I can do this. And let's close with a moment of silence followed by the serenity prayer. I love the chaotic chorus at the end.
For sure.
God,
God,
Serenity.
Accept the things I cannot change. Courage to change the things I can. Wisdom to know the difference.
Wisdom to know
the difference.
Yeah.
chaotic chorus.
Well done, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Glenn.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Thanks, Lou, Amy.
Holidays to y'all too.
And what's so neat, God heard every prayer individually. We got an awesome God.